Hello YouTubers, and today I am going to be reviewing the Abominable Snowmen. Now this version in particular I am reviewing the Blu-ray Steelbook, but everything I'm going to say will also apply to the regular Blu-ray and also the DVD. The only difference will obviously be a quality difference in terms of the DVD and also the packaging. Speaking of packaging, yeah, it's really nice on all regards, no matter which version you get. I think the standard one's quite nice. Obviously, I prefer the Steelbook, and it's nice that the Steelbook kind of, mirrors the Web of Fear in terms of its design and even layout of it. So it's a nice companion piece to that, and I always do prefer the Steelbook. But again, no matter which version you get the same contents regardless. So with this one, let's jump right into it, shall we? The Abominable Snowmen is not to the same level as the Web of Fear, but it's a fine enough story. It's one of those stories where I don't mind watching it, and I think it does have its really good moments, but in terms of the story itself, I feel like it does drag on a little bit too long. But let's talk about the animation, which is the reason why that most people will be buying this for. So, again, for the billionth time, I'm going to say, stop cropping the black and white versions. It just makes it more irritating, especially when there are a lot of sequences in this in terms of the animation where things are just flat out cut off, or characters' bodies are mostly cut off. Just why bother doing it? It's clear, with this type of animation, it's like either do 4:3 or 16:9, but when you crop it, you're not going to please everybody or anybody in that way. And the reason is because you're literally cutting things out of frame. I've demonstrated this before on my Evil of the Daleks review. Hopefully the BBC will actually allow me to have that video back up at some. But anyway, I digress. So the 16:9 version is colour, which I have grayscale, rather I should say a friend of mine grayscale, because this Blu-ray came a day late. Thanks, Royal Mail. The animation is again this time done by Big Finish Creative, who I generally prefer stylistically, and also this one is co-directed by Gary Russell, who I can basically say with Gary Russell is he tends to do the opposite of what a certain other director who will not be named does, in that he tends to go a bit too much overboard with them and tries to do things that just don't really, one, match the soundtrack that is surviving, but also just doesn't feel like it belongs as a result, where he gets a bit too ambitious. For the most part in the story, this isn't a big deal for the most part, but when we get into the bits in episodes 5 and 6 in particular, yeah, the over-ambition does get a bit too over-ambitious for its own good, unfortunately. I think also the problem with Abominable Snowmen, when you watch episode 2, the surviving episode 2, it demonstrates perfectly that since this is mostly based on a siege story and most of it is done through dialogue, there aren't that many Yeti attacks and that throughout. Generally, something like that would be best suited to live action actors, and yeah, for some reason the animation tends to do a lot of long shots and far away shots rather than close-ups. Close-ups are pretty rare in this one compared to previous ones, which means that you're watching some dialogue of some actors but from a further distance in the animation. Which, yeah, I don't know why on the choice, probably a budgetary thing, but it could also be stylistically as well, but it just looks a bit weird in comparison that we're so far away from all these actors just talking to each other, and we're just that far away from the characters. It just seemed to have a bit of a gap in that between them. I will give it this though, there was nothing that was overly distracting in it in terms of any animation errors or anything on that regards. It seems like Big Finish Creative really are kind of solidly knuckled down on this one and worked out a lot of the kinks. I will say the only thing I'll say is the actual Yetis themselves in it. While the design in that looks fine enough, the way that they move just seems like they've got it on the exact same walk cycle on repeat, which is extensively slow, like laughably slow. Like, I know the actual Yetis that were on location, you know, moved slowly, but they didn't move that slowly. They moved to a slow extent that it feels like the frame rate on it has just gone down to 5 frames a second at times. I'd say that, along with the slightly overambitious shots here and there, were the only real distraction in this story. Also, here's a weird thing I noticed, and I don't know if it's just me, but for some reason the restored version of episode 2, where they re-scanned the episode, and also means that we've actually got some HD material in there because of the surviving location footage, is only available on disc 1. Disc 2 and 3, at least from what I can see, appear to have the old transfer on there. I'm not sure why this is a thing, but it's a really odd thing as well to have on there as well. We get 2 audio commentaries this time around. One is featuring Fraser Hines, who obviously plays Jamie, Toby Haydock, and also John Walker, who was the film camera assistant. There is also a Gary Russell and Deborah Watling interview that was done back in 2004. I should also mention at this point the most distracting thing about the animation before I forget. Yes, I do these kind of out of order. What the fuck is this? How can you go from a man with some aged makeup on him to make him look old to whatever the fuck this is? Like, honestly, he doesn't even look human by this point. Why does he just have these either blank or glowing eyes? And why... What happened here? Why does he look like this? He looks nothing like his live-action counterpart whatsoever, and he's the only one here that looks like this, but why? I just, like, who thought this was a good idea? Who decided on this? This is just baffling to me. But regardless, talking about that, we've got a reconstruction as well. So, yes, we do have a telesnap reconstruction on there where, from the bits I've seen of it, yeah, it's a decent job as ever. And it's also nice that, you know, we do have an official version of a telesnap reconstruction with rescanned telesnaps at their higher resolution. So that's nice. That's nice to put in there. In terms of other special features, we have both Fraser Hines and also director Gerald Blake's location footage that was done on 8mm films. These are completely silent because, well, it's an 8mm film, but they are in colour, and it does give us a nice look at some behind the scenes. Kind of like with View from the Deep, it's like we're having special features that were made all the way back then. It also gives a little hint to what it was kind of like working and that back then. So yeah, it's nice to have them on here. We also have the surviving snippets of episode 4, which is the only surviving footage that is on here and that exists. We also get an interview snippet from Mervyn Harrison, which was from 31 Who, which was a short little interview with John Nathan Turner, which was recorded back in 1990. But the main big special feature in that we have on here is Troughton in Tibet, the new making of documentary, and thankfully this one is another real good one. It's always nice when they go back to a location, particularly this type of location, and this one hasn't changed at all. This one has remained exactly the same because it's, well, some mountains and Wales. So yeah, it's always nice. And this one is really well done as ever. It's a longer one as well at 37 minutes, which again makes me wonder why the Evil of the Daleks one felt like it was cut down, because clearly there's more material that was clearly shot. But yeah, this one is again one of the best ones, and I'd say possibly the best one since Fury from the Deep. But yeah, this is also a definite highlight on getting the Blu-ray, since this documentary is obviously all in HD, and the location does look absolutely beautiful and fantastic. And also a benefit of buying the Blu-ray is you get an HD photo gallery as well, which is definitely a benefit. And also included are the PDFs of the scripts, which are available by putting the Blu-ray disc or the DVD into a PC and just reading them off the disc or copying them over. So, yeah, overall, it's not bad. It's not bad, but it kind of feels like kind of standard. You know, nothing in the animation department kind of blew me away, because it was never really going to blow me away. I think it's fine for the most part, but it does get overambitious, and also the lack of close-up shots at some point, at certain points when actors are speaking, does come slightly distracting at times. The special features, whilst they're not a huge amount, we do get quality over quantity. The making of documentary is definitely the highlight of the piece, and also having a restored version of the surviving episode 2 as well. So, you know, if you haven't made your mind up over it, then yeah, this is definitely a one more worthy to the collection. Definitely more worthy than Galaxy 4 was. But again, if you're kind of on the fence about it, then I would say wait for an inevitable price drop. Even the steelbooks generally always go on a price drop at some point. So yeah, that pretty much is the end of the BBC America funded Doctor Who animation reconstructions. Will we get more in the future? Well, not funded from BBC America, but there are other possibilities like partnering with Netflix or Amazon Prime Video, which the BBC has done before. But, you know, as an end of an era batch, did we end with a bang or with a whimper? Well, it's kind of in the middle, to be honest. I think it's also it depends on your admiration on that for the story as well. If you're expecting another Web of Fear, this is not it, and I don't think the story is as best suited to the animation compared to the others, since it's very dialogue heavy and it's mostly just characters talking to each other in a monastery for 6 episodes for the most part. So yeah, but even if the animation isn't up to your taste, the special features, again, more than make up for it for me. I always enjoy these documentaries, and sometimes I'll just watch the documentary themselves and not the story again themselves. Like, for example, Galaxy 4, I've rewatched that documentary more times than I've ever watched the story itself. So, yeah, but overall, I still do highly recommend this one.